learners out there. My name is Heinrich Neetling, and this is Mathematical Literacy. In today's lesson, we will focus on percentiles and growth charts. Now, that's a section of data handling. Now, before I start with this lesson, let me quickly check with you something interesting. All right, so it's critical in today's world to monitor children's weight and their height. Now, growth charts for children provide an overall picture of their physical growth. Doctors and or nurses at clinics use a child's mass and height statistics to generate percentiles in order to examine whether a child or a youngster is following a healthy general growth pattern. Now, that's something quite interesting. Okay, so let's see what I'll expect of you in today's lesson. Okay, so by the end of this lesson, you should be able to, first of all, interpret growth charts. You must be able to read off values from the specific growth chart. Then you must understand and apply the concepts of quartiles. Thereafter, you must also understand and apply the concepts of percentiles. We will also look at understanding and performing calculations based on BMI. And then also important is to use the growth chart to answer questions related to that specific growth chart. Okay, so let's quickly move on. So in today's lesson, we'll focus on percentiles, body mass index, that's your BMI, as well as growth charts. So let's quickly see at what you must understand at this point in time. We will focus on quartiles. Now let's look at what a quartile is, right? So quartiles is derived from the word quarters, and that divides the data set into 4 equal parts. Okay, what else is important when we work with quartiles is that quartile 1 is 25% of the data will be on or below this value. And remember, quartile 1 is also known as your lower quartile. What else is important? We're going to look at quartile 2. That is 50% of the data will be on or below this value. We also know at this point in time that quartile 2 is known as our median. Then we have what we call quartile 3. That's when 75% of the data will be on or below this value. Also important to know is that quartile 3 is known as the upper quartile, and in terms of percentiles, it is known as the 75th percentile. Okay, what else is important at this moment in time? So percentiles, as I indicated, will be one of the topics we will focus on. Percentiles is derived from the word percent or percentage, right? Also important, percentiles divide our data set in 100 equal parts. Important to note that. Then it is a measure that tells you what percentage of the total data scored at or below that specific value. Okay, now just to give an example, the value at 25 percentile implies that 25% of values lie below the 25th percentile, and that 75% of the values lie above the 25th percentile. Okay, we'll look at that in more detail as we move on with the lesson. Now, I have a little note here for you. It says, please note, you are only expected to interpret percentiles. Hence, you will not be expected to calculate them from a set of data. Okay, now let's quickly do a quick practice. Let's see what you know at this moment in time. So the first question here, what is the significance of the 50th percentile? So whether we work in terms of weight or length, right, it means that half of the population will be above and then half of the population will be below. Also important is that the 50th percentile refer to our median. Okay, so that is the significance. So let me quickly write that down. So we will say half of the population, if we work, for example, with 13-year-olds or 15-year-old boys, and remember, boys we compare with boys and girls with girls, right? So half of the population will be above and the other half will be below. All right, so that is what we can say about the 50th percentile, the significance, the importance of it. Then question number 2, write the abbreviation BMI in full. So we know that BMI in full, if we write this out, is body mass index. Okay, so that's our BMI. And then when we move on, the formula for calculating BMI, right? So we say, and I will write it here, BMI equals is where we take our weight, right? And that is in kilograms divided by our height, right? And this is in meters squared. So very important to note, it's in meters squared, right? And then the last question here, choose the correct answer. I'm saying percentiles divide a data set into 100, 1000, or 4 equal parts. As indicated earlier on, percentiles divide our data set in 100 equal parts. Okay, I hope that's clear to all of you. Let's quickly look at some words that you should be familiar with. I indicated here that the growth chart is used to compare the BMI of a child versus the one of his or her age group. It is also used to determine the health status of a baby, for example. Then also important here is that mass and height are used to determine the BMI. Then the formula used to determine BMI is where I take my weight divided by my height in meters squared. Also important, height can be measured in centimeters, meters, or inches, right? And important also is that when weight is in kilogram and height is in meter, then your unit for BMI is kilograms per square meters. Okay? Now quickly look at diagram indicated here. So we'll have our data range. There we have our box and whisker here, where we indicated the 5-number summary, our maximum, upper quartile, our median, a lower quartile, and minimum. Now in terms of percentiles, the maximum will be the 100th percentile, the upper quartile, the 75th percentile, our median, the 50th percentile, our lower quartile is the 25th percentile, and obviously the minimum will be our 0th percentile. Now this will put in play once we start doing some sums. Okay, let's quickly take a short break. After the break, we'll put all of this into context. I'll see you soon.